Morning, welcome back to that old shop. I've also started going here to the little tractor I could. Let's see how much I've got accomplished in a video. One little thing I finally got accomplished was I came across the right material that I wanted to start to build a ramp here. A dirt ramp, clay, dirt, and gravel. So it would pack down really hard. I'll show you this one area here. This area here that hasn't gotten packed down by me driving over it yet. Looks really soft, but it is just hard. As it packed down with that clay, the sand and the gravel mixed with the clay packs down really hard. So I don't have to get out my trailer ramps to get the tractor in anymore, or the wood ramps to get the mowers in anymore. There was about a 12-inch step there to get into the shop. And around the back of the shop over here, there was a lot of backfill that had to be done. So I brought on, I don't know, more than 20 loads probably back here yesterday. Filled all that in. I still need to, in this area right here, build a French drain and run it around the corner as well, right next to this downspout piping. Take that down that way. And they'll all be exposed here. I might hook them together. I have another long row. Might get some connectors and run it down farther. I'm heading down towards the creek. This has been over several days of working at it. Like I've said in the past, sometimes it's an hour one day and a few hours another, and it might be as much as maybe 5 or 6 hours in a day. And I've laid up all this material here that I think I've shown in the past. And this pile is about 4.5, 5 feet tall. All this I've been laying up in layers here. I've got a pretty good angle now in this area, better than I had before. I've laid up an additional row of material over here. And this is not as wide as the other row of material, but it's almost as high. Plus I've layered here as well. Got me a pretty good angle going down towards the creek over there. In addition to these two long piles, I've really built it up from the street. This is going to be like the drive, rarely used drive up to the shop, which is up on top of the hill up there. So I've been raising this up. This is the edge of the floodplain here. Last time it flooded up to the corner of the barn there and across that. What is a blackberry patch there. So I'm trying to give myself a little buffer, more of a buffer. And all that material was scraped and scooped out of this area here. This is the street by our house. This is the bridge. And this is beginning in October 2025. So the creek is really low. We've had several months of no rain and been getting just little sprinkles now and then lately. But all that material I took out. So where this row of blue flags is at, that's going to be the new creek edge. I'm going to cave that in and give it more of an angle and get some grass planted along here, hopefully still this year. I've widened out the whole creek bed. I've tried with my material mats that I have made. I'll show you those. I got them blocking any runoff from rain we were supposed to get last night. Made these material mats. You can see those in another video. I had those laying across here to try to get to the other side. I was going to try to scoop out some of that bank and bring it back. That wasn't working. I tried scooping it and just pushing it forward, dumping it forward, and then I was going to go on the other side and pull it back with the bucket. That didn't work because it's more gravelly down here and the mats wouldn't really sink down in like they did over there when I removed that gravel sandbar over there. The mats kind of sunk down. I was able to drive across them and they stayed in place for the most part. Here, because there's more gravel underneath, the wheels would just move the mat. Sorry about the wind. And then over here, it was really a lot softer over here. You can see these ruts, and I filled these ruts in several times trying to get out there. So I'm just going to let the next flood that comes through, next high water period, kind of flatten all that out, that material that I couldn't get at here. There's gravel there that I couldn't get at. And down there, there's some more black and more silty kind of material. It's a little island out there right now. So this wall over here where I've cut it, is about 36 inches here, and it's more like 24 over here. I didn't take as much material out here because that's just going to be part of my angled bank. I probably took too much material out over here and made it too deep. So now when I cave this bank in, it's going to be a little steeper, I think, than this side. I've actually had to cut in these little ramps. I had to keep moving my ramp farther away from the creek as I kept widening the new creek bed. I've had to cut the ramps in farther. This one in the middle is going to stay here. That one down there. This one down here, I'm gonna fill in a little bit and get grass on it in the end. But in the past, I've tried, I'm talking like 6 or 8 months ago, I tried getting down in here and I was just sinking to China in here. I couldn't get near this piece of concrete. Now I've gotten up to it, cleaning either side of it. And now I'm gonna try and drag this out here today somehow. May have to get the Suburban, and hook that up. That's heavier than the tractor is. By about 4,000 pounds or so, twice the weight. But you can see I've been busy. So this will be the so-so drive to the shop from the street, right off this T of the street here. Streets, I should say. And again, I'm mixing sand and clay and gravel. I did a layer of sand the last time, so I'm gonna have to smooth this out and then start putting some more gravel and clay on top of this so it'll pack down nice. With these long piles, I'm eventually just gonna flatten those out, and that'll be like the edge, new edge of the floodplain on our property anyway. There's a lot of big rocks in there. I didn't pull that out as I was piling up. I was just trying to get it out of the creek. So as I'm flattening this out the way I want it, I'm going to be finding all kinds of big rocks. I'm sure I'll end up with a pile at least this big, again, of just rocks. And I'll use those other places. You can see this pile here is much wider. I mean, it's wider by, it's 3 times wider than this pile over here. This is mostly clay and sand. This is mostly sand and gravel over here. Some clay, but not as much as that smaller pile. With the exception of this whole back row here. This whole back row is pretty clay and sand mix. A lot of clay in that. This is a sand pile I scraped off early on. I'm gonna use it as like a little beach here. I'm gonna dig a catch pond right here so that the water and the silt that comes down the hill flow into this pond at one end, and I'll have a outlet at the other end. I picked up this little 6-inch piece of corrugated pipe for $5 off a marketplace. That's going to be my outlet pipe. But that's where we're at now. That's what I've gotten accomplished. Way over there by the bridge, I have a lot of material to move yet over there, and as well as dragging that chunk of concrete out of there, which is about 6 inches thick, it looks like. I tried digging down next to it one other time and I couldn't find the end of it, so it might even be thicker at the far end of it. We'll see, but let's get to it. Okay, well that's enough of that. I almost got stuck several times there. There's a pocket of wet clay under here, and the front wheels just sink down into there whenever I try to pick a load. Even if I just try to pick small loads or pick a rock out of there, that's giving me trouble. Just sinking down like crazy. So this piece of concrete, I was told, was part of a bridge that the previous property owners had going over the creek. Now it's like 6 inches maybe at this end, but then it's got some areas that drop down. I don't know if they poured some pillars when they poured the slab part of it. But I'm going to get the winch hooked up here. Winch from the trailer. Stretch it from that high green spot over there off the trailer winch, the cable off the trailer winch, and wrap it around there, wrap a chain around there, see if I can break this thing loose. I'm probably going to end up doing a bunch of hand digging because I think I'm done trying to get the tractor down in here. I could maybe scoop out some more on this side because this is more sandy and it feels more firm under there. But I may just shovel that away there, pick at it with some hand tools, maybe come down with the tractor, scoop out a couple of loads, whatever I pull off of there. See if we can get this thing to move. And the reason I'm trying to get it to move is because it is right in the creek bed, what should be the creek bed. I mean, when we bought the property, all it was this right section over here, and I'm removing all this material, and that concrete is right in there. You can see the bridge behind it there. See how wide the bridge is? This concrete's right there. So, winch time. Well, here's the setup. Got the Suburban, tires all blocked. Trailer, an 8,000-pound winch. Trailer tires blocked. Running as close as I can get the trailer almost. I could probably come back, I don't know, another 6 feet, but cable running over to the corner of the piece of concrete. It's in a little hooked in area there, but the concrete's sitting on another piece of concrete. I don't know if that's the same pour or if this is going to break loose from that piece. And I got the tractor hooked up here. So this is on the corner just for leverage sake. See if I can just twist it a little and see what I have. If it's 2 pieces or 1 piece. I already pulled on a little bit with the winch. Cable's out pretty far for how heavy of an item, how much resistance I have here, but I'll jerk on it with the tractor at the same time I'm winching it and see what happens. Okay, here we go. Well, I am really surprised that even moved. I suspected it was two separate pieces of concrete because that concrete looks darker and older, but it's farther down the ground too. That could have been the reason for that. It's interesting that there's chunks of wood under there. I've been removing material. I found several chunks of cedar trees down in there that look like it's been down there for a very long time. All right, this is too big for me to move in one piece. I'm going to have to break it up somehow. Well, that's enough of that. I messed up my arms swinging a sledgehammer 11 years ago. And it was a long, long recovery to get me to where I'm at now. I don't want to go back. So there's some rebar in there, just 2 pieces fortunately. No mesh, which is nice. I'm just not going to be able to swing the sledgehammer out. Another day I'll drill some more holes and then go run a jackhammer. See how that goes. But yeah, I don't want to be swinging that sledgehammer. I at least got it pulled away from where it was. Now I can continue to clean out towards the bridge there. You can see I'm already below the high water mark, the water in the creek, I'm trying to say. So I don't want to go any deeper, but I want to take more off the top there. Continue towards the bridge to where I think the right of way is off the road, and then the city's supposed to clean that out.
Beautiful.
So that cable broke after I pulled this piece of concrete out of there. That piece of concrete was on top of this concrete wall here, and this is really down in the ground, and it's all wet clay around there. I've been letting it dry out for a couple days now. I'll see if I can do some more hand digging around this. See if I can pull it out. It looks like it goes from there, of course, back to somewhere under here. I haven't found the end of it yet. But that's what broke the cable. And both of these pieces of concrete were blocking the flow of the water towards the bridge there. And the water would hit those pieces of concrete and dump all that they were carrying on the other side, in front of and on the other side. I mean, it was 2 feet of sand and gravel on top of this and up to the very edge of the other piece. So there was a lot of material left behind when it was hitting this. That's why I'm trying to get them removed out of the creek bed here. And a lot of that material, looser material, came from a spot I'll show you in a minute here. We're walking upstream now. This is all the material I removed on the right where you can see ground. That was 24 to 30 inches higher before. But upstream, like I've showed in other videos, got that dead tree right in the center, and to the right is the normal flow of the creek. When we get high amounts of rain, different things up there, beaver dams or debris dams block it, and then it overflows onto my property. That's a property line where that cable goes across the water there. That's my neighbor's property to the right. So it goes around onto my property, and then it's actually dug washed out a trench up here, a ditch. And there's a lot of sand all deposited up there. This would be like a little waterfall right here. The water would come flying off of this higher ground down into here. I don't know if you can tell with the glare, but it would dished all this out, washed all this out, and then deposited that big sandbar that I had already removed. But up in here, see if I can do this without getting injured or snake bit. It's kind of a ditch right here. This was all really tall weeds here. I just got in here with the tractor, front end loader to knock down all the weeds, and then the box blade to drag the weeds off, and whatever sand I could take with me. So that's our property line there, and the creek is beyond there. The creek goes off on an angle onto my neighbor's property. But this was all sand in here. Some of it was 2 feet thick that through the years has been deposited in here from the creek overflowing. So I've been scraping this away. So this, my neighbor, there's a fence post right there. That's my neighbor's property. And probably back there where that leaning tree is, that's probably the original creek bed there. So the water flows over here takes all the topsoil away, leaves sand. Sand gets stopped by all the vegetation that was in here. And then subsequent high water or flooding carries the sand further down into the original creek bed on my property and deposits it there. Can carry it as far as those 2 chunks of concrete by the bridge, and it builds up there as well. So I'm gonna have to do something with this area up here, drag a lot of the sand off, and then I'm gonna put like some little diverter rows of rocks across my property to try to deflect it back onto my neighbor's property, back onto the lower land over there. And then this ditch area, I'm gonna line this with big rocks spaced every, I don't know, 20, 30 feet. And in between there filled in with a lot of the little rocks that I've been sorting out when I'm doing my lifts of material. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.